consumer to say, well, I'm just going to go find the cheapest mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know it's like trying to find the cheapest real estate agent. It's probably not a good idea.
I have gone down the road of going with the cheapest, and it's always ended up in regret.
There's a reason they say you get what you pay for. Good afternoon. It's Anna Kalinsky with the Anna K Intown real estate team here in Atlanta. Not only do I have one, but I have two amazing mortgage rock stars on today, both representing Highland Mortgage. I've got Laura Witte with the Truth in Lending team with Highland Mortgage and Mark Milam. And we are so grateful to have you guys here today to help us demystify a little bit about what is happening in the market today as it relates to mortgages. How are you guys doing?
Good.
You know, it was a wild ride all of 2020, 2021, and obviously the first half of 2022. And I'll be honest, I never put myself in your shoes. I can't imagine what it must have been like to have just a massive influx of people that wanted to enter into the real estate market doing pre-quals, pre-approvals, and 9 out of 10 of those buyers weren't going to get a home.
Right.
So you're spinning your wheels. You're just doing all the heavy lifting and preparing the consumer to be able to strike quickly. And then 9 out of 10 of those people weren't able to actually win. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's an opportunity for the 90% of the people that didn't get their dream home, obviously with the lower interest rate, to maybe take advantage of the slower pace of the market, to fold back in some of those contingencies and protections for their earnest money and their free look period, right? Mm-hmm. So you guys are probably adjusting to a little bit more normal pace of life, which I got to tell you, I really welcome. 100%.
Yeah, I really welcome it too, especially at the holidays too. It's really nice to see that come back. And the other thing that we do kind of to client, especially through this just volatile market, who knows what the rates will be tomorrow or next week, is we have a product that I've used so much in the last 6 months to a year called the Lock and Shop. And it really protects.
More, Laura.
So it's something that we came up with, as owners of the company. What can we do to protect the client? Because what was happening was the client would go out. We'd say, this is the payment you want. This is the house you can buy. You want to be between, 600 and 650. Then the rates would go up and that would go down and that would go down some more. So this really protects the client for 60 days. They can look for a house. So it's a 90-day lock. For 60, that gives them 60 days to find a house. And during that time, their rate is set. It doesn't move. And what that does is it just kind of calms the anxiety of not worrying about the market or the rates, and also being able to really, hone in on, this is the price range that I'm looking in, which helps, you all, as well as being the agent taking them out, not having to pivot and change so much because the rates are moving. And then if the rates move down, they can do a float down one time. So it's really like a win-win situation.
So clarify this for me, right? So, because my understanding is that you always locked your rate primarily after you went under contract. Is that typically how it happens? So you're saying that you're giving people a rate lock before they even find a house.
Correct. Yes. It's a huge thing. Yeah. And
that's
I don't know
boost consumer confidence, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that we thought was important. The other thing that I'm seeing in this market, there's always opportunities in every market, and there's different products that come out that can help in any market. So I'm seeing more renovation loans at time of purchase than I've ever seen. Ever. And in the 24 years I've been doing this, we're doing more, at time of closing of people renovating, anything from, just paint and carpet to like adding an addition. So,
So tell us a little bit about that. I think it's a really interesting product. Like, so if I were to go find a house, let's say it needed, I needed to add on some square footage because I needed an extra bedroom for my growing family, or I needed to do something a little bit more simple, like upgrade the kitchen and the bathrooms and, some new fresh tile, right? Tell me what is different from just going through a typical loan process compared to doing a renovation loan from the time that you go under contract. What types of things can you expect in terms of like costs, work up front, like contractors needing to be involved? Like what goes into the process to set up our consumers for success to do something like that?
It is something that really needs to be coordinated well. I mean, Mark and I both have a background in construction loans, and it's really important that they work with somebody that understands that, because there's a lot that goes into it. They have to have their contractor picked. They have to kind of have an idea of what they're going to do, but they have to know exactly what it's going to cost. They don't have to pick finishes, but they have to know, we want stone or we want tiling here. Yeah. And so that has to be all coordinated really before we could submit the loan to start the process. So it's a little bit longer of a closing period for a purchase, but with the lack of inventory, it's really helping people kind of build the house they want.
It's opening up more options because going back to the whole idea that there is a lack of inventory. And so I think there's this misunderstanding that even when there's a lot of inventory, that there's a perfect house that might exist. And I think if you've been doing this for as long as we all have, we know that there really is no such thing as a perfect house, right? Having a solution like this, having a renovation loan or buying with confidence with your 90-day rate lock just gives people more confidence that they can go out there and shop and make a solution work for them, which I love. I think nobody's talking about this. They just think that, I need 20% down and here's the rate and God bless me. Right. So
one of the cool things about that renovation loan product, so it can go all the way up to the conforming loan limit, which is now in the 700s. So that can get you a lot of pricing power, but also renovation power. And we do all of that in-house. So we manage that construction project within our four walls. So we don't farm that out to anybody. And we have a specific site that the agent gets a login to, the client, the builder, us as the originator, and the construction manager. And so whether it's 5 o'clock on Friday or 11 p.m. Saturday night, if you want to log in and see the real-time progress of your project, you can see it down to the penny. How much is left in the budget? What's the percentage of completion? What are the pictures from the most recent inspection? You're able to see all of that data in real time, and it keeps all parties on the same page. Laura's right. It's very easy for this to get off track, and it can be complex. So you need something to keep it cohesive. You need something to keep all parties singing from the same sheet of music. And we feel like we've got a good handle on that.
Talk to me a little bit about your sort of your culture of service. Like, obviously consumers have a lot of options, and from a mortgage perspective, it's easy for the consumer to say, well, I'm just going to go find the cheapest mortgage. It's like trying to find the cheapest real estate agent. It's probably not a good idea. So talk to me about like what unique sort of value proposition that you all as individuals bring to the consumer that would set you apart from the next mortgage originator.
We now get to go back to doing what we love to do, which is to advocate for our clients. That's why we are in the jobs that we are in. And we've built careers built on advocacy. So I'm a big fan of where we're headed with that. I think if we can combine in the mortgage industry, and this is something that's been missing for years, if we can combine efficient technology with that same advocacy, I think that's the magic formula right there. Is to give people an efficient process that's transparent, but also that they've got their guy and they've got their girl. And if they need to come have a sit down in the office, you're right here. You're right here in Midtown Atlanta, that you can come have a seat and chat with us and make sure that you've got a good sense of comfort and a good amount of communication. I have gone down the road of going with the cheapest, and it's always ended up in regret.
There's a reason they say you get what you pay for. All right, Mark, moment you've been waiting for. Tell us why you would be excited to buy in this market.
Well, first of all, I think that there's room to negotiate in a lot of cases. I don't know. I'm sure probably not every case, but I think that there's room to negotiate. I think that there's room to be really strategic about the type of vehicle that you put yourself into. Most everybody seems to feel like the country's headed for a recession if we're not already in a recession, and that there'll be opportunity to refinance in the next 18 to 24 months. That's certainly a possibility. It's a probability. So that should go into your factor. This isn't the busiest time of year for us. Going into the holidays and into the winter, it's normally the spring buying season or maybe the late summer, fall buying season. So you're going to have perhaps even more motivated sellers, those that are out there on the market that didn't get the bidding war last spring. You can have a more realistic chance to have a good negotiation with those folks.
Laura, are you buying property? Would you buy property right now?
I always think that this time of year is the best time, and especially now with the market starting to move down. I have seen more appraisals come in higher than what people are buying.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. It's a absolutely fantastic time for buyers. I think, this whole thing that you saw on social media, marry the house, date the rate kind of thing. I don't know where the logic is with the comfort of renting, because there's no control. You are getting zero equity. You're paying, like everyone says, 100% interest. There's nothing there that helps, your future, your equity, your finances, nothing. So, and from what I understand and what I've read, rent is going up. So
I have a number of rental properties, and every lease that we have renewed, we are increasing some between 5 and 10%. Guys, send us off with a couple things. One, I want to you guys are always out there inspiring other people and coming and teaching and telling your story and just delivering massive value to the real estate industry. But tell us kind of what keeps you motivated. What books are you reading? What podcasts do I need to know about? Like what's lighting you up these days?
I think a lot of people know I grew up with a single mom, and, empowering women is a big deal to me. And just today, sitting around at our Thanksgiving, potluck for the company, seeing all those women in positions of power and in their own business is so inspiring to me. And that's something that I am continuing to mentor women and want to build that even more so. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, is helping women find their voice and find their power.
I love that. Well, you've done that for me. I mean, you've reached out to me personally on many struggles I've had publicly to just be a voice, and I've always appreciated that. So thank you for that.
That's awesome.
Thank you as well. Thank you.
Of course.
I would, so for me, mine's a little bit of a guilty pleasure. So I listen to a podcast called Smartless. I don't know if you've ever.
I love
Smartless. Yes, that too.
And it's sort of a guilty pleasure, right? Because you're listening to Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean.
I love that. Yeah,
they're so fantastic.
They are. And I just heard one. I was on my way on a recruiting trip up to North Carolina, and I was listening to Steve Carell. They had Steve Carell on.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how timid Steve Carell used to be. He would talk about that, like that he just, had a lot of fear and trepidation about going after any of these roles. And it turns out he actually is a really good dramatic actor. It's not just comedy.
Hilarious.
And Jason Bateman said he heard a quote that courage lives on the other side of trying. And I love that.
I love that.
As if we're supposed to be born with all this courage, but where you find courage is by risking, by getting out there and doing it. And I think a lot of people that I come into contact every day, and some of these are our clients, there's just been so much to be afraid of lately, right? There's been the coronavirus, and then you've got, prices skyrocketing in the real estate industry. You've got interest rates, escalating to 22-year highs, and there's a lot to be afraid of out there. But a little bit of trying, a little bit of going out there, find yourself a great agent, find yourself a great lender, go out there and give it a shot. Try, see if you find something that you like, and you find your courage in that regard in this real estate market. But I think it applies to so much stuff. I mean, I'm scared to death of, public speaking sometimes, scared to death of, playing music live. So yeah,
doing a great job there. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Courage is on the other side of trying. I like to grab those little nuggets. All right. Tell us where we can find you. How do we find you guys?
Well, in a couple of hours, it's going to be at the bar, but
well, I mean, either by way of Instagram or your website.
Right.
So we are at truthandlending.com or Truth and Lending on Instagram.
So our webpage is highlandmtg.com. You can find us there. Plenty of information about us. A quick Google search will do it too, whether that's Laura Witte and the Truth and Lending team or Mark Milam, Highland Mortgage. You can find us pretty much everywhere. We're all over the place. So we'll be glad to chat with you. You
guys have been great. I learned something new today, which is a big checkbox for me. So I love that. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us.
For spending it with me. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
All right.